Hello, hello. I hope that you're well. Welcome to episode 6 of my podcast. I'm delighted to see you here. A huge thank you to everybody who has been watching the episodes. I am so grateful. Today, I wanted to talk about what is human design and also what it isn't. And the reason that I wanted to talk about this is because of late, whenever I talk about human design, I think people get muddled. They either think it's some kind of future telling type tool, which it isn't, or that it's some kind of personality type test, which it isn't. So I really wanted to kind of take a step back and just talk about what human design is. Human design was discovered by Ra Uru Hu back in the 1980s, and there are a number of people who studied with him before he passed away, and who now have that kind of knowledge that they are now bringing forth into the world. At the time of his teachings, human design was used quite aggressive type language. And the reason for that is because he wanted to awaken the self. He wanted people to kind of be so shocked by it that they would then almost take a step back to kind of go, well, what is this, right? And then have a look at themselves and hopefully start on the path of getting back to who they truly should be. Over the years, it has naturally evolved, and I've been studying with a lady called Karen Curry Parker, who has kind of developed it as almost another stage, so quantum human design. And I've personally found it much more gentler, I suppose. That's not even a word, is it? But yeah, it's much more gentle. It makes complete sense to me in terms of how it works with universal laws, manifestation, how it works with the world that we live in, how we treat each other, so in terms of kindness and positivity and all those kind of wonderful things. Karen teaches it very much from the perspective of trying to help people to also get back to who they are, but the language she uses is slightly different. And I guess I've landed somewhere in the middle, where I think there is a degree of needing to kind of really understand the crux of what human design is, versus before we can actually, put fluff around it and help it land a little bit more softly. So human design isn't another form of, say, for example, tarot reading or oracle reading. Tarot will tell you what's going on around outside of you. Oracle will tell you what's going on inside of you. And those types of readings tend to work together, and they're lovely. If that's something that you are happy with, all I say about tarot and oracle is never ever be frightened if you get the death card, because I have this conversation a million times with people, often a week, where people are just so frightened to get readings because they're worried about getting death cards. The death card doesn't mean death. The death card just means change. It just means a new chapter. And as somebody who gets that quite regularly in her readings, I promise you it's nothing bad. It's good, right? So that's just one thing. The other thing as well is that I've grown up in a world where there's lots and lots of different personality tests like Myers-Briggs, etc. And they were really, really good tests to kind of help you understand, the type of people that you might be a fit with, the type of organizations you might want to work with. But obviously times have changed and we've evolved, and, we're all now pursuing routes, whether it's a side hustle or our main job, especially through the entrepreneurial path. So we're thinking more and more about the things that make us happy. And in doing so, what happens is that when you look at at the science of the universe and energetics and things like that, it stands to reason that we are energetic beings. Okay, you may have heard people talk about the fact that we interact. Our auras, we have energy auras that interact with the universe. You've very, very likely heard about people talking about thoughts become things and those kind of things, and that's not for this episode. But what they're actually saying is that those thoughts create an energy reaction to them, and that energy then interacts with the universe, which then goes off to actually bring back the thing that you're hopefully trying to create. Now, I've just completely dumbed that down and simplified it, and there's steps within that. We've all heard about ask and you shall receive and all those kind of wonderful things. And I've been really thinking about why that needs to be so complex. Why, as human beings, we have to make everything so complex, when I don't think the entire process of manifestation needs to be that complex. But again, another day. When I started looking at human design, it became very, very apparent to me that no, it's not a fortune telling type tool. It's not a personality test. it uses principles from the Kabbalah tree of life. It uses principles from the Indian chakra system. It uses principles from the Chinese I Ching. And it brings together those principles into what we call human design. And at the heart of human design is the body graph chart, which is the output of the report that you get when you put in your birth date and time of birth and things like that. Some tools will tell you about the planet placements around when you were born. So normally 88 days before your birth and at the time of your birth. And those planet placements will tell you things like the best way you communicate, your blessings, the experiences you'll have in your first part of your life from 0 to 39 years and then 40 years plus, your purpose, the things that ground you. I'm absolutely fascinated by that aspect of the chart because I think it actually tells you so much. The tools that we have and that are emerging today talk, about some elements of the body graph chart. And I was looking at a community the other day where people were talking about the body graph chart, and somebody was actually asking, they're a projector, how can they not feel? And I just found that a really interesting question because she was viewing the fact that she was empathetic as something that was negative, whereas I think being empathetic is a beautiful thing. I think that having an open energy field where you're able to take in and almost observe other people's feelings and kind of feel that is a beautiful thing because it enables you to be able to create a stronger connection with them. It enables you to choose whether those types of feelings are something that you would like and would serve you in your life, or whether actually it's something that you don't want. And no, thank you, that's not for me, and you can set it aside. And I think when you understand all of that about the human design chart and you understand all the different layers and the elements to it, what becomes really, really fascinating is that there is a design to our imprint on Earth, right? So our soul comes here to learn, lots of different things, and that our challenges in our life guide us through those learnings, which is fabulous. And sometimes those learnings are really hard, and sometimes those learnings are really fun, and we call that life, And I think nobody here listening to this hopefully will disagree with me on that. And then on the other side of that, what human design also does is it gives us permission to be who we want to be, and to also enable us to get back to, that excited child that we were when we were younger, with that wonderful imagination, and who was excited about all of the possibilities of our life. Why is it that as we get through to adulthood, those things are suppressed? Why is it that they can no longer play a part? And it can't be because life is serious. It can't be because we have bills to pay and responsibilities and things like that. The responsibility of us in this life is to be who we truly are, because when we're able to be that person, we affect everybody around us. So whether that's immediate family, whether that's the people that we work with. And what human design does is it gives us permission to be that person. It gives you affirmation and confirmation that those little inklings of those things that you thought about yourself actually make sense, right? That actually, this is who you are. There are people in this planet, who can manage and do 100 things at once, and they'll flip between things, and then we typically call them manifesting generators. I've come across many manifesting generators, and they spend so much of their time when they're talking to me, telling me that people have told them they should concentrate on one thing, that they shouldn't balance, across having different interests, that it's not okay for them to pick things up and put things down, and I liken this to my husband and his little piles. I talked about that in one of the earlier episodes. But why is that wrong, right? Who gets to decide that that's wrong? That's a wrong way of being. It may seem chaotic to somebody else because their energetic blueprint is a different way. For them, it might just feel exhausting, and that's okay, because maybe for their energetic blueprint, they have a different way of expressing their energy, a different type of focus. I've come to realize more than anything else how unique we are, and that we need to honor that uniqueness. When I look at things like trainings for businesses, when I look at our own personal trainings, when I look at how we parent, how we show up in the world, we're so busy listening to people telling us that we should do it this way. I've achieved this success, so this is the path that you follow. But what's becoming more and more obvious is that it's their path. And there's nothing wrong with sharing an inspiring story, right? And giving people hope. There's nothing wrong with encouraging people to explore that for themselves. But what happens is that because, and especially with the fact that education or content has exploded, we're looking at it and then we're actually saying to ourselves, well, I'm not like that person, or I've tried it and it hasn't worked for me. Therefore, there must be something bad about me. Therefore, there must be something wrong about me, or I might be a failure. And that's where I'm really worried, because we're going to start falling, or if we haven't already, into this kind of trap of thinking that, thinking and measuring, what we are capable of by somebody else's success. And that's their success. Your path is your own, right? I saw an email come down from somebody who's very well known, who actually started poo-pooing over the term stay in your own lane. And I actually was a little bit disappointed in that, because it was one interpretation of stay in your own lane. And for anybody who knows me, who has worked with me, who has, had received some of my teachings or anything like that, you'll know that I use stay in your own lane quite often. And when I say it, I literally just mean be you. Stay in your own lane, be you. Listen to other people's stories, feel inspired by them, see what they're doing, maybe gather ideas, create a community, discuss things with people, get energized by it. But at the end of the day, the person that will create your path and will enable you to walk that path can only be you. And that's what I mean by stay in your own lane. Right? It doesn't mean isolate yourself. It doesn't mean that you ignore everything at your own peril. It doesn't mean that. It means focus on you, because we spend so much time listening to everything else. And what happens is that when we listen to everything else, all of those things imprint on us. And so whenever we think about something, the way that I measure it now is whether it feels good to me or not. Is it something I want and excites me? Yes or not? Right? And if it's not, then I don't want it. It's gone. If I want it, then I'll carry on with it. And it's as I said to my little girl, Alice, who's having a little bit of drama with her young, school friends at the moment. I said to her, an opinion is always neutral. An opinion is only ever good or bad, depending on the meaning that you give it. And that's exactly what human design is. It is a neutral design for you. How you decide to interpret it, how you decide to live it, how you decide to express it is yours and only for you to do, right? Nobody else can tell you how to do that. So as always, I'd love to hear what you think. I know these are all short burst podcasts, because otherwise I'll be here for a while. I do hope that you enjoy the episodes. Let me know below. If you'd like to subscribe, that would be awesome as well. And I look forward to hearing from you soon. Take care, everyone. Speak soon. Bye.